A crowd stood silent as flags covered entire streets. What once felt like a nation became a stage. Hitler didn't take control overnight. He reshaped reality step by step, through propaganda, fear, and repetition. Opposition disappeared quietly. Voices faded. People stopped speaking freely long before they were forced to. Neighbors watched each other more carefully. Even small expressions became noticeable. Over time, loyalty wasn't demanded. It was expected. And once expectations replace choice, resistance doesn't vanish suddenly. It disappears before it can even begin. A knock at the door late at night meant everything could change instantly. Stalin ruled through uncertainty. No one knew who would be next. Friends became suspects. Silence became survival. Entire networks of people vanished without explanation. Conversations became shorter. Trust disappeared completely. Even families avoided certain topics at home. People learned to think carefully before speaking at all. And once fear reaches that level, control doesn't need enforcement. It lives inside people's decisions, shaping every interaction. Fields stretched across the countryside, but something was missing. The system had changed faster than people could adapt. Mao pushed for rapid transformation, but the scale overwhelmed reality. Food disappeared. Communities weakened. People waited for solutions that never came. What looked like progress became pressure, and that pressure spread across millions. Families faced choices they couldn't solve. Villages changed without warning. When decisions operate at that scale, consequences don't stay local. They reshape entire societies at once. Cities emptied almost overnight. Streets that once held life fell silent. Pol Pot didn't just control people. He removed everything familiar. Schools closed. Families were separated. People were forced into a new reality without warning. Small details became dangerous. Identity itself became a risk. Even simple habits could draw attention. Daily life became unrecognizable. The system didn't just suppress opposition, it erased it completely. And once everything familiar disappears, there is nothing left to resist with. A child grew up never questioning the world around them. Everything they learned came from the same source. Kim Il-sung built something different. Control didn't rely on force alone. It shaped perception from the beginning. People didn't compare because they had nothing to compare with. Over time, loyalty became normal, not enforced, but learned. Generations adapted without noticing the shift. Even doubt never fully formed, and systems people grow into are the hardest to recognize, let alone challenge. A room fell quiet when he entered. No one needed instructions to understand the rules. Saddam ruled through immediate consequences. Decisions were enforced quickly, leaving no space for hesitation. People adapted fast. Behavior changed. Every action carried weight. Every word was measured carefully. Even silence had meaning. And once consequences become predictable, people begin to adjust automatically. Control doesn't need to escalate. It stabilizes through expectation, shaping behavior without constant force. The streets looked normal, but something had shifted. A man lowered his voice mid-sentence when someone walked past. Conversations stopped without explanation. Pinochet built control through structure. Systems changed quietly but effectively. Institutions aligned. People disappeared without public trace, leaving behind unanswered questions. Families waited without answers. Life continued, but differently. People adjusted their behavior without needing reminders. Public spaces felt more controlled than before. Even silence carried meaning. And once behavior changes at that level, control becomes part of daily routine. Crowds gathered, not out of choice but expectation. Mussolini understood visibility. He shaped perception through presence. Messages were repeated until they felt like truth. Systems aligned with his vision. Over time, opposition weakened, not through force, but through isolation. People stopped questioning. Even doubt became less visible. Public agreement became routine, and when questioning stops, control doesn't need to prove itself anymore. Time passed slowly but consistently. A generation grew up knowing only one version of reality. Franco didn't rely on sudden change. He built control through duration. Systems remained stable, even under pressure. People adapted to consistency. Resistance didn't disappear instantly. It faded quietly, replaced by routine. Children learned what not to say without being told directly. Conversations became careful. Expectations shifted without notice. And once something becomes familiar, it becomes harder to challenge, even if it began as something people once resisted. Buildings stood tall, but behind them, reality felt different. Ceausescu built an image of strength that didn't reflect everyday life. People saw one thing and experienced another. Over time, the gap widened. But speaking about it carried risk, so silence filled the space instead. Conversations became cautious. Even private thoughts felt restricted. And when perception and reality separate like that, control depends on maintaining the illusion. Power shifted unpredictably. Gaddafi didn't follow structure, he disrupted it. Systems changed without warning. Decisions felt inconsistent. That unpredictability created confusion. People didn't know what to expect, so they adapted constantly. Routines became unreliable. Stability disappeared slowly. And when expectations disappear, stability is replaced by caution. Control exists not through order, but through uncertainty. Rooms emptied when he approached. Conversations stopped instantly. Idi Amin ruled through visible unpredictability. Actions happened without clear reason. That made everything feel unstable. People adjusted by staying quiet, staying distant, staying unnoticed. Attention itself became a risk. Even presence felt dangerous. And once unpredictability becomes the norm, people stop trying to understand. They focus on avoiding attention instead. A speech lasted for hours, but people kept listening. Castro built influence through narrative. Words shaped perception. Ideas repeated until they felt consistent. Over time, belief became part of identity. Public opinion aligned slowly. People repeated what they heard. And once identity aligns with power, opposition becomes personal. That's when control moves beyond structure and into how people see themselves. A system collapsed, and confusion filled the streets. People waited for direction that hadn't yet been defined. Lenin didn't just take power, he replaced everything at once. Structures changed rapidly. Old systems disappeared overnight. New ones took their place before people could understand them. Familiar rules no longer applied. People struggled to keep up with constant shifts. Uncertainty spread quietly. And when change moves faster than understanding, people stop questioning. That's when control settles in, filling the space left behind. A screen lights up in a quiet room. Information appears instantly, but something feels filtered. Modern systems don't rely on visible force. They shape what people see, what they hear, what they believe. A post disappears. A message never reaches its audience. People adjust without noticing. Opinions shift gradually. Conversations follow invisible boundaries. Choices feel natural, even when guided. Patterns repeat silently. And once perception is shaped at that level, control doesn't need to announce itself. It becomes part of reality. Different leaders, different eras, same pattern. Power doesn't stay at the top. It moves into systems, into behavior, into perception. What begins as control becomes structure. And once it becomes structure, it no longer needs constant force. It continues quietly, consistently, and far longer than expected.